Hey guys, welcome to another edition of All Things Football. Today I've got two special guests. Not happy to have Riaz on the show after Man United beat Newcastle, but welcome Riaz. And then we've also got a Madrid supporter who's on cloud nine as they approach the Champions League final. So welcome, Sajid.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Gents, it's been a very busy week in terms of fixtures, lots of results going on. And some of our teams doing well, some of our teams not doing so well. Riaz, I'll start with you. How was your performance on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I won't lie. We've had last week I told you what a terrible season it's been. But that victory over Newcastle put a smile on my face, brother. And it put more of a smile on my face because I knew you were unhappy. But yeah, I think it was a good performance. We haven't been putting in good performances. It was a good performance. I would have liked us to win by more than just the one goal, but I think we saw some outstanding goals in that game. And you guys had your chances. I mean, at 1-1, you guys had your chances. That block from Amrabat on Isak was a massive, massive moment in the second half. Um, so yeah, I think you guys did well, but you guys also have been culpable of making mistakes like Trippier doing his best Casemiro impression and being so deep that allowed us to score that first goal. So yeah, overall I was happy with the performance. I was happy with the win. We haven't won in a long time, so it was wonderful to get 3 points. How did you feel, Wasim? Because you went a bit quiet after that result.
Yeah, look, if I'm honest, I was quite upset. I think it was more of the manner of our defeat because we didn't play bad, but we didn't really take our chances. Also, the fact that we didn't get a penalty, which was quite a clear penalty in my view. And it's small things like that which really just got to me because it was an important fixture and we could have sealed European qualification if we won. But I think what also upset me was the fact that it was very soft goals. In the second half, for example, we had all the momentum and then we equalized. We then had a couple of chances after that. And then we conceded a very, very soft goal from a corner, which was through a back pass, which never went to the goalkeeper. And he tried to keep it in line. And it went for a corner. And it was like, that's a stupid corner to give away. And then we concede from the corner, where no one's marking Ahmed and he's left clear on the box. So for me, it was just like we played well, but soft moments and we conceded, and that was the game gone. In such an important game, you want to make sure you hard to concede. You want to make it hard for your opponents to score and be difficult to break down. But we were the opposite. We were playing well. We were creating an open game, but anytime Man United looked as if they could get in the box, they would score, and it was like that's just not what you would want in a big game. So I was quite disappointed with our performance, given that we drew on the weekend prior to that. So I think it's just we never gave a proper account of ourselves, and you guys were there for the taking, but we still lost. So that was just very, very upsetting.
Well, see,
I think you guys have a bit of a fragility at the back that we're not used to seeing with Newcastle, at least from last season. Sorry, Sajid, do you want to say something?
No, I just to come in there to say that Newcastle's form, at the beginning of the season where they were destroying the likes of Dortmund, who are now coincidentally playing in the Champions League final.
We lost both games to Dortmund, but okay, I'll give you that. I think you can say PSG. We were destroying PSG.
Yeah, but your guys' form, at the time was excellent. So I just wanted to check in with you. I mean, like, do you think some of the external factors that's happening at the club at the moment, is playing some type of part in distracting the players as well?
I think we've just been exposed with our squad. Our squad is not strong enough. So we've got areas where we are good, and we've got depth in certain positions, but there are other positions where we don't have sufficient depth, and one of it is goalkeeper, for example. So last season we conceded, I think it was 19 goals in all of our away games for the season. 19 in about 18 or you play 19 away games, you concede 19 goals. That's one per game away from home. And the rest of the games, it was like 13 goals in the other 19 home games. So we had a very strong base defensively. This season, our main keeper, Nick Pope, got injured in, I think it was November. and he's been out ever since then. So for 6 months, you've got your second choice goalkeeper, you know, stand, and he was basically Dubravka, I feel, has shown that he's not good enough anymore. You know, he was good enough when you were under Rafa, when you were defending, you were dropping deep, you weren't giving opposition much chances. But now all of a sudden, because you're playing a more expansive game, you're trying to dominate possession and things like that. So when you get hit on the break, your goalkeeper can get exposed, and that's also goes in line with our goals that we conceded against Man United. Is that Hoyland's shot? If you look at it, the goalkeeper should be saving that. But Dubravka, for whatever his footwork or whatever it was, he just didn't save it. So that's a very soft goal to concede. And so for me, it's shown that we've got to get better depth in our squad. And because injuries are going to happen, make no mistake about it. All our clubs have suffered injuries this season to different levels, but we've all suffered injuries. So you can't use that as an excuse. And I think that's the problem. We need to make sure that our backup players are better. Because even like I looked at the first goal we conceded, where Trippier hasn't played for a while, Livramento was doing well. So Livramento is injured, so Trippier comes back. In his first game back, he makes a massive mistake by allowing Mainu to score. And so I think it's things like that we've just made so many soft mistakes, soft errors that you're never going to be a good team if you're going to keep doing that. So that's what we've got to improve on next season.
You mentioned about the depth in the squad, you know, and with Newcastle's funding line that's available to them, they should easily be able to cover that aspect. So do you think some degree of responsibility here also falls on the likes of a man that stays and some of the other executives at the club who perhaps should have, you know, dug in a bit deeper, you know, to make sure that these type of things, you know, should not be happening to a club at Newcastle's resources, I would say.
No,
very valid question.
I wouldn't blame the board, because if you look at it, FFP is quite a big topic of discussion at the moment, and if you look at it, you allowed, I think it's 105 million loss over 3 years. Everton have been punished for going above that. Nottingham Forest have been punished for going above that. Newcastle are currently on the edge of it, on the right side of the law, shall we say, but we're on the edge of it. So we couldn't really spend more than we want. If you look at it, we didn't even bring in one player in January when we were desperate for players because we had so many injuries. We had, I think it was 12 first team players injured in January. And so you literally have 13 players to choose from. So it's basically whoever's fit, you're starting. And so it's it's a challenge. So I wouldn't say the board are to blame. But what I would say is this coming season, we've got Adidas coming on as main kit supplier, and that's a big deal. So that will allow us to spend more. And then also we were in the Champions League this past year, so we'll get the proceeds from that. So that will allow us to spend more. So this coming window is going to be absolutely crucial because we won't have the excuse of, no, we can't spend, we've got a limited budget. This coming window, we'll have a decent size of money to spend. And so how we spend it there will be important. And then we can see, are we going to blame the board if things don't go well? Then they'll be held accountable, definitely.
I think we can have this conversation in a year's time.
Exactly. FFP, Riaz has been around for a while now, but I still think
the thing is with FFP, right? It's always been the 105 million threshold, and the market has completely changed. So they need to increase that amount now. You know, it's crazy that it's still left at 105 million because, like I said, the market's changed and things and rules and regulations need to, especially where money is concerned, needs to change accordingly. So that's maybe something they need to look at. Just Wasim, a quick question for you is regarding Eddie Howe. Like he's done a very good job at Newcastle, but we all know for Newcastle to get to that higher level, besides being able to attract a better caliber of player to the club, eventually they're gonna have to bring in a better caliber of manager. Now, Eddie Howe is a Premier League manager, but is he the manager to take Newcastle to heights that Newcastle hasn't seen in maybe since the 90s?
Yeah, I think that's the big question because if you look at his 3 years, now this is his third season with us. The first season he came in, he did well, he saved us from relegation, got us to finish in mid-table, which was quite a good finish considering we ended the season very well. Then last season we finished fourth, had a very solid defensive record, got Champions League. So again, he did very well. This season, given all the injuries and the additional competitions that we were in, we then had a drop. And so he's basically earned the fact that he gets the extra time to see now, how good he really is as a fit for the club. So I think next season is the defining moment. Again, like I said, we'll have a fairly big window coming up. But if he does well at the beginning of next season and we get perhaps a top 4 finish, then by all means I think he'll be able to stay for another couple of years, and then we can reassess at that point. But if he starts badly, then I think questions will be asked about, listen, is he the right guy to take the club to the next level? Because I think if you want to be successful now, it's not just going to take one transfer window, 2 transfer windows. So, and he's been forced to play guys like Dubravka and Kraft and guys who are not really meant to be starting more than 5 to 10 games a season. But Dubravka has played more than half of our fixtures as a second choice goalkeeper. That's a bit of a concern. So I think he's been allowed to have this time to show if he's the right fit, and he's done very well. But the time will come where he needs to take us to another level, and I think that's going to be next season where he'll be assessed accordingly. Because if he doesn't do well, then I think the hierarchy might also decide to say, listen, if you look at what Aston Villa have done, they replaced Steven Gerrard with Unai Emery, and now they reached a European semi-final, and they got top 4. So you can see what Emery is doing with them. So I think it might then also beg the question to Newcastle try and go that way perhaps in a year's time. But for now, I think the club and the board are fully behind Eddie Howe, but he's going to face more serious questions next season, and he'll have to answer
And
it.
the crazy thing is that Newcastle wanted Unai Emery, and he rejected the opportunity to come to St James Park, and he's gone to Villa, and he's done an unbelievable job. I mean, nobody would have thought Villa's going to finish in the top 4. If we had predictions set at the start of the season. So he's undone all that. Well, I don't want to say terrible work management's a tough job, but Gerrard had him almost, going down had he stayed on. So Emery, the Spaniard, doing amazing things. Spaniards have been doing amazing things all over Europe. Mikel Arteta, Emery, Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, they definitely have. Sergio, I wanted to ask you, with La Liga sorted and Champions League final coming up, how are you feeling with the Champions League final coming up soon? Do you think that Dortmund's going to be an easy game? Because I can tell you they're not going to be easy. Eh?
Look, I'm fairly relaxed. I think that if it was any other Champions League final, I would be stressing about, where are the gaps, where is the opportunities going to come from? Previously when we played the likes of Liverpool, Juventus, even Atletico Madrid in the 2016 and 2014 final, I knew it's going to be tight games considering, their defensive structures is quite solid. Borussia Dortmund, they've gotten to this point. I believe, this is just my view, I think that they got lucky in the semi-finals. I think PSG had numerous opportunities. I think in the second leg in the Parc de Prince, they had, I think, in excess of 10 shots. If it wasn't for the likes of, some of poor finishing up front, then I think that they would have been playing Real Madrid in the final. But I think, so I think, having said that, I've observed the gaps in the defense. I think with Madrid's attack, I think Dortmund will definitely try. They'll come with a positive game plan, and they'll definitely embrace the occasion. Wembley, they've been here before, 12 years ago. They understand the stage. But I think Madrid will be just a slight step too far in my view. But at this level, on the other hand, you can never say for sure. but I do feel a level of confidence that I haven't in this particular Madrid team, especially up front. They're quite devastating. They've wrapped up La Liga, so they have ample time now to rest. And I believe the fitness coach Pinto is going to take them through quite a rigorous, session a week away. I'm not sure if it's in the Alps or wherever they're going to go, just to get acclimatized to higher intensity, so that they are completely ready for that final. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a fair game to both teams, but I'm definitely going to be backing my team. I don't see Borussia Dortmund winning the final, but look, there's always the opportunity to be proven wrong.
So I want to ask the question. You mentioned the English teams in Europe, Liverpool previously, but this season we've seen that only one team has really reached the semi-final stage of any European competition for the English sides. That was Aston Villa in the conference. So my question is, what do you make of the English season this season? Because we're coming into the final games. There's still a title race which is yet to be decided. Some of the European places are yet to be decided. So what do you make of the strength of the English game and how the season's unfolded for the English teams? Because some people will say it's still the best league in the world, but others will say if you look at the results on the field, perhaps it's not. So Riaz, I'll start with you and then we can go to Sajid. What's your take on the season? Because it's a title race and it's the last game of the season and it's still yet to be decided, which most of us always want something like that to happen. Yet most people don't believe it's a title race because Man City, they're in their groove and they're going to win the league. So it's interesting to hear your take on that.
So is the question related to the title running between City or Arsenal, or the
Yeah, I
amount of
think,
teams in Europe from England?
yeah, well, a bit of both. Like, how strong do you think the league is? Because it's got a title race, unlike some other leagues. But then on the flip side, the teams have then not done well in Europe. So that's like, it's like a double-sided question.
I think City and Arsenal are two of the best sides in Europe. I think they've displayed that this season in the way they've played, in the way they've attacked and defended. But then there seems to be a gap from like the top four in England to the rest of the sides. If you look at where we are, 8 at the moment, we're like something like 30 points off City and Arsenal. So whereas the two of them have been consistent and picking up results, and look, we all know when you challenge Man City, irrespective about how you feel about them or the charges against them or whatever, you need to hit 90 points to contend against him to try and win the league. It's very, very tough. And in Liverpool's case, in the previous seasons, they've gone way above 90 and still not won the league. So I think the top teams, for me at Mid Spain, like the top two or the really top teams in the league are very strong. And then the rest of the teams display considerable inconsistencies. And I think, if you look at our sides or team, sometimes you don't know which side is going to pitch or what type of result you're going to get or so on. So I don't want to say that the league is weak, but the league is inconsistent. And I think the same speaks to La Liga. Whenever I look at the La Liga table, maybe the top 2 or 3 are really, piling on the points and pulling away from the rest of the pack. But the other teams from 5th down, there's such massive gaps in point standings between all of them. And I think also in Europe, look, last season, Man City knocked Real Madrid out. That was the key fixture in this Champions League, schedule. And had Man City won, so I just spoke about luck. Yes, PSG won, lucky, and Dortmund were lucky. But same could possibly be said about Real Madrid at the Etihad.
Yeah.
So, it's like those fine margins. I mean, had City gone through, we'd have been speaking about City again, making it through to maybe a semi or a final. And, Real Madrid getting knocked out 2 years in a row. And maybe not, meeting expectations. So, yeah, it's those small things.
Yeah, I agree with Riaz. It's very fine margins. I think the margins that you mentioned, Riaz, is so tiny that one needs to look at some of the practical elements So like in terms of in terms of like in Spain, for example, like Real Madrid wrapped up the league, but you have in the case of sorry, my little one's just going to join me here for a moment. In the case of like in Europe, for example, Arsenal and Manchester City could have gone through. So I don't think it's the case of the English league being a poor league at all. I think, in fact, the English league is still a very strong league. I think at the end of the day, what's just happened is that they've lost in Europe by the finest of margins. I think Arsenal lost by a 2-goal margin. They went in with the opportunity to still go through when they played at the Allianz in the second leg, and like you correctly said, Madrid could easily have gone out against Manchester City. That was them playing a certain style of Italian football just to defend for their lives, just to make sure. That's the one, yeah. Just to defend for their lives so they can make it through. So I think I think the Premier League is still intact. As for the title of the world's best league, that's I think in terms of the teams, yes, but I think in terms of infrastructure, there's a lot more we can unpack. Some people speak of the theater of dreams, and now it's turned into the theater of streams. So we need to when we title the league as the best league in the world, it must basically encompass all of these elements. And I think the Premier League is definitely up. There's no doubt about it. But I think the neutral audience watching football around the world, it sometimes doesn't mirror what is commonly being said, that it is the best league in the world. It perhaps was the case, and if it wants to retain the title, it needs to invest more on all fronts, not just the game itself, because we don't want to see the likes of Messi, and well, we're not going to see them, but the next generation of Messi and Ronaldo playing at the theater of streams. We want to see them playing at the theater of dreams. So
talking about theater of streams, someone said Old Trafford is a theater of wet dreams.
Yeah, no, it just gets better.
Wasim, listen, Champions League final, who are you backing? I know you hate Real Madrid. Recently Dortmund put out a very pro-Zionist, pro-Israel tweet. So the one side's doing that, you hate the other side. So where do you stand on the final?
Yeah, I don't really know who I want to win, but I think I always, in games like these, I tend to just follow the underdog, because I think Madrid have won the Champions League, what's it, 15 times now? Lost count already? 14 times. So so I just feel like I always like the underdog to do well. So I will be backing Dortmund, given that they also played in our group. So I could say one of the teams in our group went on to win the tournament, and stuff like that. We had the group of death. So I think I'll be back Dortmund, but yeah, it's I'm damned either way, whoever I support.
You know what's crazy is that Real Madrid, I've watched that team in so many Champions League finals since 1998. I've not seen Madrid lose one Champions League final. Maybe this is the year that we're expecting them to win it. They'll actually not win it. But let's see, because their pedigree is just next level. I mean, since 98, they've been... It's insane to think about, like, they've never lost a Champions League final. Yeah, I'm hoping United can get to a final. This team just doesn't know how to lose finals.
Yeah, it's that big game mentality. It's something that's unrivaled. No one can better them at that. But we've got 5 minutes left, guys. Quickly, if we want to make some predictions for the Premier League, the last day of the season on Sunday. We've got the title race still open. We've got the European places. I think it's just 6th and 7th that needs to be decided. What are our predictions for that? I'll start with my predictions. I feel obviously Man City will win the title. They just know how to get it done. They're so switched on. Even at Spurs, they were under pressure, but they still found a way to win. So I'm backing City to win, and then I think both Newcastle and Man United won't win their last game of the season. So I'm gonna say Chelsea will take 6, and I'll say Newcastle will get 7th, but I think it's going to be close. As I said, I don't think either team's going to win, so it will put the pressure on who can avoid losing, perhaps. Riaz, what's your take? Sajid, what's your take on that?
Sajid, you can go.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Wasim. It's a miracle now for Arsenal. I think even their fans have now resigned to the fact that that miss from Son, which they were cussing because they were really liking to put that away, would have probably guaranteed them the league as well. So, but look, I mean, it's football at the end of the day. But the likelihood of Arsenal winning now, it's low considering they're playing at home. And I think if Arsenal score first, it's going to be this excitement that's going to. But I think City have a lot of goals in them. So Man City for me, in terms of the top finishers, I think also Chelsea will go with 6, and then between Man United, it's a toss of a coin between your clubs, Man United and Newcastle. Yeah, La Liga's wrapped up. The Italian, German league all wrapped up already. So it's just a matter of the Champions League and the European places. I think in the Champions League, I'm going to go with Real Madrid. And for the Europa League, I'm going to go with Bayern Leverkusen. So I think that will be the Super Cup final.
So for me, look, City just, it's almost like they take offense to you challenging them. Like, if you challenge them, they're going to kick up a gear. So, totally agreed with what you guys said. City just know how to win, and they don't falter at the end of the season. So, City to win the league. And we have a terrible record against Brighton. We've not beaten them in 4 games. They've beaten us in the last 4. Our away record at the Amex is not good. So, the supporter in me wants to have us change that, but I think, I think we'll finish 8th to culminate like a really poor season. Newcastle 7th, and I'm shocked Chelsea are in 6th, but well done to them. They've done brilliantly to get back there.
Yeah, I think they've shown great consistency in the last month or so, winning games where it was actually tough. About a month ago, I remember looking at the fixture list and I saw Aston Villa, Tottenham, and a few other teams, and I said they're not gonna. Don't worry about Chelsea; they won't finish 6th, and they've somehow just made a way, found a way to get that consistency and actually get the results. So well done to Chelsea. I think they deserve 6, given that they've just shown to have that level above both United and Newcastle. So thanks guys for joining us today. We've run out of time, but enjoy the last games of the season, and then we're going to have our weekends free again pretty soon. So that's going to be interesting, but enjoy the last games, and thanks again for joining.
Short chance. Thank you very much.